Wow, what a series. What an interesting game seven it was between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. We have new NBA champions, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They win the series 4 games to 3 in a 7 game series. So, congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder for becoming the 2025 NBA champions as they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 103-91. A lot to get to in this game seven, so let's get right to it. So, leading up to this game, this was the 20th game seven in NBA Finals history. This was also the first game I believe, yeah, this was the first game in 9 years that went to a game seven. As you heard in the last show, the last time an NBA Finals went to a game seven was the 2016 NBA Finals with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. So late in the first quarter, the game was really close, and Pacers point guard Tyrese Halliburton was having a game. He was knocking down 3-pointers, and he had his team. He had the Pacers within reach, keeping it very close late in the first quarter with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Unfortunately, Burton attempting to drive to the basket. If you watch the replay, you could clearly see that his Achilles had popped, which was the official injury, which we'll get into in just a little bit. But Halliburton was already playing with a strained right calf. He injures his lower right leg. And if you watched the broadcast, you could see that Tyrese was in excruciating pain and his teammates surrounded him. And we would later see that, I believe one of his teammates, it was James Johnson, that carried him to the locker room area. It was just devastating. And things were never the same after that for the Indiana Pacers, and the energy and the life was just taken from that team. And since the Halliburton injury late in the first quarter, the Pacers, they never rebounded from that. However, before the injury, Halliburton was on a roll. Halliburton was on a tear. He was 3 of 4 from 3-point range. He would finish the game with 9 points. And boy, you talk about a reversal of fortune, so to speak. Just when the Pacers were keeping up with the Thunder early in the game, he suffers that devastating injury, and the energy was just zapped from that team. However, Indiana, they fought hard in the first half, and despite the Halliburton injury, they were able to have a lead at halftime, which they led by 48-47. However, things would never be the same for the Pacers. The third quarter, the Pacers committed a lot of turnovers, and the Thunder took full advantage of that. Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, they struggled in the first half, but man, that third quarter belonged to those two gentlemen for OKC. A bright spot for the Indiana Pacers, TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell, you talk about the definition of hustle and grit and determination. That third quarter belonged to TJ McConnell for the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers struggled in that quarter offensively, but TJ McConnell was the glimmer of hope in the midst of the Tyrese Halliburton injury. He did what he could, but only one player, only one man can do so much. And the turnovers and the lack of offense just continued to hamper the Pacers as the Thunder had a commanding lead at the end of the third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, hey, the big three, Williams, Holmgren, and of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the dominance just continued to be poured on. As they said, when it rains, it pours. And the Thunder, no pun intended, continued to rain upon the Pacers with the offense, the defense. Chet Holmgren was blocking shots, rim protecting. Everybody just was sound on the defensive side. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, they never looked back as they would go on to win their first NBA championship in franchise history. Final score would be Oklahoma City 103, the Indiana Pacers 91. So the Thunder win their first NBA championship, I should say, as the Oklahoma City Thunder. The last time the franchise won an NBA championship was 1979 when they were known as the Seattle Supersonics. So the Thunder, they've been in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City has had an NBA franchise since 2008, and we know about Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka and company. Great teams that franchise had, but they had to go through their growing pains when that era was over with, and in comes Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in the trade from the LA Clippers. Then Chet Holmgren comes in, Jalen Williams comes in, and you bring the crew together, Lou Dort and company, and Oklahoma City. They were the best team in the NBA all season long. From start to finish, they handled their business. I think if the Halliburton injury had not happened, I'll give a couple of scenarios. One scenario would have been the Pacers would have won very closely. Or scenario number two, the Thunder would have won in a much closer fashion. But as they say, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but we'll never know that. But hey, the Thunder, they took advantage of the opportunity. And again, they were down by 1 point at halftime. And that second half, they never looked back. Holmgren and Williams got it together. And of course, SGA Shea Gilgeous-Alexander made it happen. So again, the final score in Game 7, the Oklahoma City Thunder 103, the Indiana Pacers 91. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was voted the Bill Russell Finals MVP. Gilgeous-Alexander becomes the fourth player in NBA history to win a regular season MVP, a Finals MVP, and a league scoring title all in the same season. The other three players to do it, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, and Shaquille O'Neal. So we'll give you the rest of the box score for the contest for the Game 7 between the Thunder and the Pacers. So for the Oklahoma City Thunder, the leading scorer was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He had a double-double with 29 points and 12 assists. Jalen Williams finished with 20 points. Chet Holmgren had 18 points. We had Alex Caruso and Cason Wallace both finished with 10 points. Alex Caruso, man, you talk about somebody that really made a difference for that championship unit, somebody that for that championship run for the Thunder with his hustle and his defense and his three-point shooting. It really turned the tide, especially in that fourth quarter for OKC. Isaiah Hartenstein finished with 7 points and Lou Dort finished with 9 points. On the other end for the Indiana Pacers, Benedict Mathurin finished with a double-double with 24 points and 13 rebounds. Give credit to Benedict Mathurin, man. His hustle was on point, just trying to make the best of the whole situation with the injury to Tyrese. Benedict really did his part, did the best that he could to try to get his team a victory and try to win the championship. Pascal Siakam finished with 16 points. Andrew Nembhard finished with 15 points. We had Miles Turner only had 6 points. Aaron Nesmith only finished with 3 points. Tyrese Halliburton would finish with 9 points. TJ McConnell finished with 16 points. I mentioned the hustle for the OKC, specifically Alex Caruso. TJ McConnell, man, you talk about trying your best to do your part in the contest. TJ McConnell was really a one-man show for the Indiana Pacers, especially in that third quarter. And it was just really so heartbreaking to see him. I mean, the emotions were running high for all of the players at the end of not just, before the game, but the emotions were really high dealing with the injury to Tyrese Halliburton. And then on top of this, you lose a deciding Game 7. You saw Aaron Nesmith. If you watched the broadcast, you saw how devastated and disappointed he was. And then the cameras for ABC, they caught TJ McConnell walking back to the locker room, very dejected, rightfully so, devastated, emotionally distraught. I don't know, he was comforted by a woman. I believe that was his mother. And then I really think that ABC should have given him and the person that he was with some separation. I understand it's broadcasting, and yeah, you want to capture those moments. But man, that was certainly a private moment with that person consoling TJ McConnell. But man, you really feel for TJ, but TJ will bounce back from this, just like Tyrese will. TJ will bounce back from this. It's a tough moment. The team was already going through a tough moment with the injury to their star Halliburton, and then have to deal with this. It's really tough. But man, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're the NBA champions, and again, they beat the Indiana Pacers 103-91. So let's start off with the teams that were involved in this contest. Let's start off with the Indiana Pacers. Their fans, the state of Indiana, the city of Indianapolis, they showed up for their team. And kudos to the Pacers, right? The Pacers have been in the mix for such a long time. And certainly, I mean, I would have never thought the Indiana Pacers would have been in the NBA Finals. I would have told you the Boston Celtics or the New York Knicks or maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers, not the Indiana Pacers. But they shocked the world. They shocked a lot of people. And it was the grit, the perseverance, the determination that got them to this point. And job well done to Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle for doing an amazing job with this team this year. Tyrese will be with the franchise for the long haul. Pascal Siakam got a contract extension. We'll get more into detail about the players and, of course, with the injury to Tyrese in just a moment. But, man, the Indiana Pacers, despite coming up short, it was a great series that they gave us, man. And it was definitely outstanding from not just the Indiana Pacers, but just the city of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana. As for the Oklahoma City Thunder, from start to finish, job well done. Mark Daigneault, great job this year. Young coach and with a young nucleus. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren, Alex Caruso being the veteran of that team. Also, you've had Isaiah Hartenstein coming over in the deal. He was with the New York Knicks this first year in Oklahoma City. He did great things as well. Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, just to name a few. The future's definitely bright for the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's going to be tough because they are in the Western Conference, and we'll get more into the Thunder in the West and what's going to go forward for the next NBA season, the 2025-2026 NBA season. But for the moment, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're the king of the hill, and they reign supreme as your new 2025 NBA champions. We had two small market teams that gave us a fantastic series, the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. I won't say the name of the network, but there was a network that carried this year's finals. And in my personal opinion, they did not give both of these cities their just due. Indianapolis and Oklahoma City. These two teams, their fan bases, loyal to the soil, fiercely loyal. Their arenas had college atmospheres in an NBA setting. For those of you that watched it, you know what I'm talking about. Those fans showed up, and they showed out in a major way. Indianapolis and Oklahoma City, yes, two small markets, but you know what? Two small markets that showed up and they played big time basketball. They played basketball the right way. It was all about team play. Offense, defense, rebounding, all of those three tenets, and they did it the right way. And certainly, I know last year's finals was a 5-game series with Boston and Dallas. The superstars were there, but the series was far from being superstar. This year's final series, it went 7 games, and we had some dynamic games. And the sportsmanship between these two teams was phenomenal. And who says that small market teams can't play big time basketball? Hey, the proof has always been in the pudding. It's just that people pay attention to either their teams or they pay attention to the big markets. But the Pacers and the Thunder, they showed a lot of people that, yes, small markets can provide not only big time basketball, but electrifying entertainment. And if this year's finals could sum it up in one word, I know it sounds cliche, it was amazing. And certainly we had great players that backed it up as well. And it was just great games, never slacking. I mean, it was the storylines were different, but the storylines were worth paying attention to. And certainly the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, they gave us dynamic play, they gave us drama, and this is definitely a series we'll never ever forget. All right, so before we look ahead to the next NBA season, in case you've been living under a rock, Kevin Durant, one of the greatest players of all time, has been traded. The Phoenix Suns have traded the 15-time NBA All-Star to the Houston Rockets, and in a blockbuster trade, in return, Phoenix will get Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick in this year's NBA draft, and 5 second-round picks. Now, the trade won't be formally completed until the new league year, which begins July the 6th. All right, so in the short term, Houston wins. They've got Kevin Durant, and he's going to be surrounded by a lot of young talent. Alperen Şengün, one of the promising, one of the rising stars in the league, one of the great players to come from Europe, was an all-star this year. You've got Amen Thompson, who is a two-way threat, offense and defense. You've got a veteran guard with Fred VanVleet, championship experience. He knows about winning an NBA championship. And of course, Ime Udoka just got a contract extension as the head coach of the Rockets. So in the short term, the window is open for Houston. Not all the way open, but it's still open. And Kevin Durant, he gives them an advantage offensively. And the 1 year with Phoenix, a lot of the expectations were high for KD. It didn't work out. I mean, it was disappointment beyond. I mean, it was below disappointment for Kevin Durant in Phoenix. They tried to make it work with him, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. That didn't work out. Phoenix felt like they needed to part ways, and it seems as though both parties were happy. Kevin had specific teams where he wanted to go. Rockets, Spurs. Also, I believe the Heat was one of the teams that he was interested in as well. And in the end, the Houston Rockets pulled the trigger and they were able to make the deal happen with the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant, he still has it. Kevin Durant definitely still has it. Now, the question is, how long will this short-term window be? Will it be 2 years? Will it be 3 years? Will it be 4 years? We don't know. In the long term, Phoenix is set up in a major way. Jalen Green, one of the rising stars in the league. He's very athletic, super mobile. Dylan Brooks is an agitator. He's in the same realm with Draymond Green, but Dylan gets you some offense, and he's definitely a ferocious rebounder. And Phoenix now has the 10th pick in this year's draft, and they have 5 second-round picks. Man, your draft picks is like capital in sports, especially the NBA, which is no exception to the rule. So, man, if the number 10 pick pans out and you've got the 5 second-round picks, Phoenix is definitely setting themselves up for major long-term success. And then you've got Devin Booker, who's just hitting his prime. Bradley Beal just hitting his prime. Both of those guys are great shooters. I mean, they still offensively, they're some of the best shooting guards in the league. So right now, the pressure is on Kevin Durant. The pressure is on the young Houston Rockets. Also, Jabari Smith and Cam Whitmire as well. So we'll see what happens with the Houston Rockets. I think the window for Houston, I'm going to say they have 2 to 4 years to get it done, but it's tough. Winning in the Western Conference is no small task. And certainly the Oklahoma City Thunder, it's amazing what they did this year in that tough West as well. And we'll get to the Western Conference and, the next season's outlook in just a moment. But Kevin Durant, He's headed to the Houston Rockets, and in return, the Phoenix Suns will get Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick in this year's NBA draft, and they get 5 second-round picks. All right, so another NBA season is in the books. We had a great NBA Finals series between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Again, the series showed that two small market teams can deliver, and they delivered on big time basketball, big time action, and they did it the right way on all levels, on both sides of the ball. Offense, defense, rebounding, team play, it was second to none. So now let's look ahead to the next NBA season. Let's start off in the Eastern Conference with the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles. Most likely, he'll be done for this season. We won't see him in the next NBA season. The Pacers, there is a glimmer of hope. Halliburton most likely will be done for the next season, but guess what? They have the two best backup point guards in the league, TJ McConnell, Andrew Nembhard. You saw McConnell and what he did during the playoffs, and especially in Game 7 of the finals. He can hold his own. And Andrew Nembhard is no scrub neither. His shooting is second to none. But not just with Nembhard with Nembhard and McConnell, you've got Aaron Nesmith. You've also got a gentleman by the name of Benedict Mathurin, who is about athletic as you can get. Ben Shepherd. You've also got Obi Toppin. Miles Turner, he's a free agent. If they can re-sign Miles Turner, the Pacers could be back in this same position even without Tyrese next year. And of course, you've got the veteran that provides the championship leadership and Pascal Siakam. Rick Carlisle is one heck of a coach. If they can get Miles Turner re-signed, everything is going to be on the up and up for the Pacers, and they could be back in the same position next year. But just like it's wide open for the Pacers, what about the Boston Celtics? Tyrese Halliburton, torn Achilles. We won't see him next year. The Boston Celtics know all about that pain as well. Jason Tatum, he tore his Achilles in the playoffs as well. Jaylen Brown and company, they're going to have to carry the load for the Boston Celtics. No JT, but JB and company are going to have to carry the load. So you got the Pacers, you've got the Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks, Dame Dollar, Damian Lillard. We won't see him next year. Damian, another one, tore his Achilles. What about the future of Giannis? Giannis may not be back in Milwaukee. Giannis may decide he wants to take his business someplace else. It's up in the air for Milwaukee. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they have the best record in the Eastern Conference. It's looking really good for Cleveland. Cleveland, it looks as though their core is going to be coming back. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. And gosh, that core for Cleveland is going to be back next year. Cleveland could have a shot at it. The New York Knicks. Hey, whoever their next coach is going to be, one thing's for sure, the core is there with Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby. The Knicks could have something to say about this as well. Also, the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons are a young and up-and-coming team. J.B. Bickerstaff has done a great job with that team. Also, the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid, if he can be healthy, knock on wood. Paul George, if he can be healthy, knock on wood. Tyrese Maxey and company. It's wide open in the East. Pacers, Celtics, Cavaliers, Knicks, Bucks, Pistons. Also, Philadelphia. You cannot count out the Orlando Magic either. Orlando, they made a big trade. I talked about trades earlier with the involving Kevin Durant, Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane comes over in a trade from the Memphis Grizzlies. Desmond, he's one of the best three-point shooters in the league. And Desmond is somebody that can give Orlando, that team is very young with Paolo Banchero and company. He can give them so much just in terms of the 3-point shooting, which is desperately needed from a team like the Orlando Magic. Don't count Orlando out neither. Orlando had a lot to say last year being in the playoffs. I mean, it's wide open. Orlando could get a crack at it as well. Also, the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young, the Chicago Bulls as well, the Miami Heat with Bam Adebayo. Man, the Eastern Conference, there's really not a definitive winner because it's for the taking. Anybody can get it. The Western Conference, let's move over to the West. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they're no longer the hunter. They're now the hunted. They're the defending champions. They're going to have something there. Everybody's going to be coming for them. And you know, the West, hey, the West is the West. It's always tough. It's never a dull moment. The Houston Rockets, they landed Kevin Durant. Enough said, you know, their championship hopes are going to be extremely high. The Los Angeles Lakers, a full season with LeBron James and Luka Doncic. Let's see how that holds up. The Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray and company. We'll see how that all plays out. The Los Angeles Clippers, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. If Kawhi is healthy most of the year, hey, watch out for them too. The Minnesota Timberwolves, don't sleep on the T-Wolves. Anthony Edwards, Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley Jr. The T-Wolves, man, they're going to have something to say too. Also, the Dallas Mavericks, Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, how effective is he going to be? Kyrie Irving coming off an Achilles, right? Coming off of an Achilles injury. He's expected to be back in January. So hopefully you're going to get a healthy Kyrie Irving coming back in January. If Anthony Davis can be healthy for the most part, hey, Dallas is going to have something to say about that. Also, too, the Golden State Warriors, a full season with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler. That should be interesting. And it's just so much with the West. The West is just so tough, so talented. The Utah Jazz are on the rise. The San Antonio Spurs, remember them with Wemby? De'Aaron Fox, Jeremy Sohan, the list goes on, man. It's never a dull moment in the NBA. The Eastern Conference is wide open. The Western Conference is so competitive and full of talent, man. I mean, there are no guarantees that Oklahoma City may win it next year. We could see the Lakers. We may see the Timberwolves. We may see the Nuggets back. Who knows what could happen? In the East, it's just a free-for-all, man. But it's what it is. And certainly, it's the dynamics of the NBA and what it's all about. And that's going to do it for this edition of the program. Until next time, everybody, I'm Matt Robinson. As always, be good, be safe, take care. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.